So this is a certificate which you can achieve, and you can share the certificate in the social media through the link provided over here. So moving to Arshad Ali, he is a principal program manager at Microsoft. He is associated with different roles and responsibility in the organization, such as principal architect, solution architect, and big data consultant. He has got a couple of certifications from Microsoft. He's an Azure Certified Solution Architect. He's an Azure Data Engineering Associate, Databricks Certified Developer, and he's a Microsoft Certificate Solution Expert in Business Intelligence and Data Platform, and he's a Microsoft Certified IT Professional in Business Intelligence, Database Administrator, and Database Development. You can see more about him in the given LinkedIn profile. And over to Arshad Ali.
Thanks a lot, Gavaskar. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, perfect.
All right. So my name is Arshad Ali. I'm a principal program manager at Microsoft as part of Microsoft Fabric team. This is a team part of Azure Data. There are four core pillars of Microsoft Fabric. The very first one is complete analytics platform. With that, what we mean is Fabric provides a complete or basically a best of breed capabilities for building end-to-end analytics solution. All the compute engines that we talk about, whether we are talking about data integration, we are talking about Spark experience, whether we're talking about data warehouse, all of these are best of breed experiences or compute engines that will get into more details of it. So that's number one pillar. Number two pillar is we are no longer locked into proprietary format. So Fabric embraces open format. We have a standardized every data storage on Delta Lake, so that like you don't have to kind of copy data again and again or replicate data from one system to other system, right? So it's all Delta Lake format, all Parquet file underneath, and you can use any engine that you want to use in this in Fabric, all the way from data integration. So for example, if you are using a data factory or a pipeline in a data factory to create a delta table while bringing data from source, the same table is going to be available in Spark. The same table is going to be available in a data warehouse where you can write your SQL statement. The same table is available for doing reporting from Power BI, right? So it's just one single copy of the data going to be available in one lake, and it's all in open format. There is no proprietary data any longer now. That's the second pillar. And the third pillar is about empowering every business user. With that, like we have plugin, Power BI plugin that you can use it in Teams. We have plugins built into Microsoft 365, Office 365 for you to kind of connect to OneLake and do analytics on top of that. That's a third pillar. And the fourth pillar is about delivering AI experiences. So how do we accelerate analytics productivity? How do we discover and enable you to create custom ChatGPT solution with your own data? So that's a fourth pillar, and we'll get into details of each one of them. So let's start with complete analytics platform. So as I was saying earlier, right? So every analytics system has a storage layer and the compute layer. In Fabric, we have this concept of one lake, which is kind of a virtualized storage for all your analyticals need or for your whole your organization, and it stores data in open format like a Delta, and the data is accessible across any engine that you want to use, right? So all the top blocks that you see sitting on one lake can access the same copy of the data. This whole platform is based on SaaS model, software as a service model. So it means like it has single and simple onboarding and trial experiences. The navigation model has been simplified for you to kind of get the experiences based on the persona that you are playing in. It has collaboration built into it. As I was saying, it has one copy of the data, so you don't have to copy data across. And all the enterprise grade feature that you expect from a platform to provide, it provides. For example, one security. It means like you create a table in one lake and define the security. That security will be honored across any of the engines that you are going to use, whether you are going to use Spark for data engineering workload or for data science workload, or whether you are going to use SQL for querying the table, or using Power BI. That one definition, whether one person should have access to a data or not at one place, will be honored across all the engines. So that's how we are simplifying the whole security model. Universal compute capacities. So this is one area that again has been very painful for customers. So depending on how many products they are using, customer has a different business model to pay for the consumption of each of those products in past. With Fabric, we are simplifying it with the compute capacity. And what does it mean is, let me take an analogy and explain this to you, right? So let's say if you are buying a laptop, you go and buy a laptop with 4-core or 8-core or 16-core machine, and then you bring in different types of software, install it on your laptop, and then you make use of it. You go to Task Manager, and you can see almost in real times what's the consumption of the resources on the laptop by each of those applications. So that same model is what universal compute capacity is. So you buy CU or buy capacity unit, and you can use that capacity unit across any computing engine that we have in the fabric. You don't have to kind of go and manage separate things separately, or separate consumption separately. So you can use it for data integration, you can use it for data processing with a Spark, you can use it for data warehouse. It's the same computing resources underneath, and you're paying one time in one way, right? That's shared across. All these resources are shared across any of this compute engine. So that's how we are simplifying kind of computing model. And again, AI assisted is something I'll show you some examples and demo of it. Now, with SaaS, the idea here is providing customer 5x5 experience. And what does that mean? Is like it you can sign up in 5 seconds, and you can build I kind of a small solution. Of course, like when you're building enterprise solution, you'll spend more time, but just to get it started, the idea here is you spend 5 minutes to sign up and 5 minutes to going through end-to-end experience. So this frictionless onboarding is built into platform itself. Instant provisioning is another thing that's built into platform itself. That SaaS platform provides you all those things. And quick results with intuitive UX is something that's built into the platform itself, right? So when, and I'll give you an example here, right? So when you go and create a data lake storage account, it takes a minute or two to kind of create that storage account. When you come into Fabric and create a lakehouse, it's almost instantaneous. You just have to provide the name of the lakehouse, and it's going to create that for you, right? Unlike when you're creating data lake storage account, where you have to provide subscription name, resource group, reason, and all those things you have to provide. Here, everything is taken care. You just provide what's the name that you want to give. Everything will be taken care by the platform. The second pillar here is success by default, right? So with SaaS platform, we want you to manage or have control on manage those different pieces together, right? So all this management capability, whether it's respect to auto optimization or auto integration, it's built into the platform itself. So you have minimal knobs to manage and worry about. Having said that, it also means that, like, in cases where you need more control, you as a developer and architect will have those control, but only when you need to manage it by yourself. In most of the cases, you can build focus on building solution for your organization, and platform itself will take care of all those pieces for you. And the third one is centralized administration. With that, like, we have tenant-wide governance, tenant-wide security management, and compliance is built into it. Now, when we come to experience of Fabric, it has been designed based on the persona, right? So if you are a data engineer and kind of switch to data engineering, you'll see items or the artifacts created for a data engineer experience. Likewise, if you are a data warehouse developer, you'll see experiences change on that persona, right? So you'll see ability to create a SQL file, and all those things will change. Likewise, if you are a data scientist, the experiences changes to allow you to kind of focus on the work that you do as a data scientist. Like it allows you to create the model, allows you to kind of work on different experiments on that model. So having said that about Microsoft Fabric so far, let me quickly show you one demo of how end-to-end it works, and then we'll get into more details of it.
In this demo, we'll take a look at how different data professionals can easily get started and collaborate in Microsoft Fabric. We're starting out on the Power BI homepage, which is the ideal environment for a BI analyst that wants to build data sets and reports. However, Fabric offers many persona-based experiences. I can easily navigate from Power BI to something like Synapse Data Science. We see the suggested items change to experiments and models, whilst the recommended materials focus on getting started with ML models. Since I'm a data warehousing professional, I'm going to navigate to the Synapse Data Warehouse experience. And let's get started by creating a new warehouse. All I have to do is give it a name and choose a sensitivity label, and I am instantly navigated to the warehouse experience. I do not have to set up any clusters, networking, or storage accounts. As a first step, let's bring some data into my warehouse. I can navigate to my pipeline experience in a single click and can choose from many connectors that will bring data in at petabyte scale. I'm going to choose Azure SQL as my source, select all the tables I want to copy, specify column mappings, and that's it. I can now start copying my data. Navigating back to the warehouse, I can see my tables have been automatically created for me. I can explore my data by filtering it directly in the table view or writing my own SQL queries. Fabric experiences cater to both pro developers and low-code users. In the warehouse case, this means that users can leverage a visual query editor for creating their queries. Users can use a graphical user interface, including the ability to do complex joins without ever needing to write any code. In Fabric, we have also combined the data warehouse directly with Power BI, making it really easy for data engineers and business analysts to collaborate over the same data. Here, I've got the built-in modeling view, where I can easily create relationships between all of my different tables. I can also use this experience to add new measures that I need for my BI model. And because these experiences are all integrated, we take care of performance tuning and keeping all the data in sync. Now with one click, I can create a Power BI report. I can see my tables, including my newly created measures. I can drag and drop my fields into the report. I can see that my table has 30 million rows. I can now build out my Power BI report just like I normally would. Navigating back to the workspace, I can see my entire project is ready, with my pipeline, warehouse, dataset, and report. I can also see how everything comes together in the built-in lineage view. To conclude, Microsoft Fabric dramatically simplifies the process of building out end-to-end complex analytics projects. I was able to ingest data, build out my data warehouse and BI report, all without needing to configure any infrastructure or leaving the Fabric experience.
So now coming back to the second pillar of Microsoft Fabric, lake-centric and open. As I mentioned earlier, the idea behind OneLake is to provide a data virtualization layer for all your data in your organization. So when you create a Fabric tenant, a single SaaS lake is created for your whole organization. And all the workloads that we use over here, whether we are using Data Factory or data engineering or data warehouse, they all store data in one lake in Delta Lake format, which is something that we have a standardized on. And that's going to be stored in a hierarchical namespace to provide the performance that you expect from any big data system to get. And the thing that is kind of built into the platform itself is it's being indexed for discovery. It has lineage built into it, right? So when you move from data from one place to other place, in between you use notebook or SQL, and whatever that lineage is being tracked and kept together for you for reference it by the platform itself. So you don't have to spend time to build that pace of your analytics solution. And all these compute engines that we are talking about here is based on serverless compute. At the same time, they have been optimized, and there has been several investment that has been put together in each of this compute engine to provide you the performance that you expect from any of the big data system or distributed system to provide that experience. And again, as I said, all the data is stored in Delta Lake format. So it's a single format for any engines to kind of make use of that data. So this is one kind of representation of how different compute engines can access the data from one lake, and it's one single copy of the data all the time, right? You don't have to kind of replicate it across. Let's go to the next one. one security is the feature that we just talked about. You define the security for your table or for your data at one place, and all the engines in Fabric will honor that definition. Um, with that, let's look at one example or demo of using Lakehouse. So earlier example was primarily focused on data warehouse experience and how you kind of make use of it. Let's look at an example of Lakehouse here.
Let's see how different data professionals can collaborate on top of the same copy of data stored in the Lakehouse. As a SQL analyst, I can navigate to the SQL endpoint that comes automatically pre-wired to my Lakehouse with no setup needed. This opens up the Warehouse UI, which is powered by our serverless SQL engine. This is a completely revamped warehouse experience. There's true separation of compute and storage, and the warehouse is fully optimized to work on top of Delta Parquet with excellent out-of-the-box performance. I can see all the familiar constructs to me, like my schema, stored procedures, views, and queries. As a next step, let's go ahead and write a SQL query to explore our data. To get started, I want to see how many rows of data I'm dealing with in my revenue table. Writing a quick query in the editor shows me I'm working with 3.5 billion rows of data, all stored in the lake. Let's write another query that looks at the sum of revenue and gross revenue across distribution channels and fiscal months. We're even going to query data across different lake houses and warehouses in our workspace, all in the same query. We can see the SQL query runs and returns a result almost immediately, scanning all the 3.5 billion rows of data and giving me my aggregated numbers. But taking a closer look, we can see it looks like I'm facing a data quality issue with my data. Instead of getting a channel name for one of my entries, I am getting what appears to be the GUID instead. I'm going to jump into a notebook and use Spark to fix the bug. We can see the Lakehouse is tightly integrated into the notebook experience, and I can just drag and drop my table onto the notebook and run them from there. Upon running the cell, the notebook uses serverless Spark live pools, meaning things start to run immediately. And in just a couple of seconds, I get a preview of my table. I'm now going to write some Spark code replacing the GUID with the correct channel name. Once my notebook has finished running, I'm going to immediately rerun the same query in the warehouse. We can now see that the issue has been fixed and all the data appears correctly labeled in the table. Finally, the business analyst can also make use of the data in the Lakehouse. I can simply navigate to the built-in modeling view and start developing my BI data model directly in the same warehouse experience. After all my data has been prepared, I can now move into creating a brand new Power BI report. As I open my report, I can see all the tables on the side, but no data has actually been loaded into Power BI at this point. This is just a pointer to Delta Parquet files stored in the lake. This is because Power BI now supports direct lake mode, which means it can natively read Parquet files directly in the lake at blazing fast speeds. Let's take a look. I'm going to start by dragging in the count of rows, and we can see that we have 3.5 billion rows of data in the revenue table. I'm now going to drag in the sum of revenue. I'm going to break it out by product type, and let's make things nice and big. And then I'll also add fiscal quarter to the legend, and finally change the chart type. And you can see everything is running so smoothly, and as I slice and dice my data, I get all the interactivity I would expect with instant response times. This volume of data would have taken hours to ingest using standard ETL tools. But with direct lake mode, users can now get the amazing performance of import mode without needing to load any data, managing refresh schedules, or worrying about latency. As a final step, we can take this even further and empower every Excel user to benefit from data stored in the Lakehouse. Here I'm in Excel connected to the MS Sales Lakehouse, and I can easily build out a pivot table directly on top of the same data stored in the lake. To conclude, with Fabric, data engineers have a frictionless experience building out their enterprise data lakehouse and can easily democratize this data for all users in the organization.
All right, so this video talked about Direct Lake. Let me kind of give a brief background on what that Direct Lake feature is. And this is again, it's kind of unique feature to Fabric, and So the idea here is, if you're a Power BI user, you know that there are two different mode to kind of query the data. Direct query mode, which allows you to access the data in real time, but because it accesses the data from source, it's going to be slow. So that's a direct query mode. The second mode is to use import mode, where it imports the data and keeps that in memory of Power BI. So in that case, the performance is going to be much faster, but at the same time, you need to set up the process to refresh the data. So data is not coming in real time when you're using import mode. So that's where Direct Lake comes in. So Direct Lake takes the best of both worlds together and combine them into a single mode. It's called Direct Lake mode. Basically, the idea here is it's going to query the data every time from the source, but at the same time going to provide you the performance of import mode, or the performance of the in-memory storage in the import mode, right? So basically, there is an engine called Vertipark in analysis services, or even in Power BI. We have leveraged that engine, and that engine takes care of reading the data from one lake, which is kind of a delta lake, and processes it in a way that it provides the performance of the import mode. So direct lake mode provides that kind of performance. An example that showed was about having a table with 3.5 billion rows, and the drag and drop was almost instantaneous. So that's the kind of performance that you can expect when you're using direct lake mode. So this is the third mode now available in Fabric to make use of it. As I was saying earlier, the idea behind One Lake in Fabric is to provide a data virtualization for all your data in enterprise. So when you're starting with Fabric, you'll create lake houses in Fabric and you'll start storing data into it. But many of the times you have data already stored in ADLS account, or maybe in Amazon S3, or even in Google Store, right? So how we can access that data without copying that data to a different storage account or different storage layer. This is where another feature of Fabric comes in. It's called Shortcut. It allows you to access the data from where it exists without having a need to copy that data from the source, right? So you can create a shortcut to an existing ADLS Gen 2 account or to Amazon S3. Google storage is coming up, but the idea here is you no longer need to kind of copy the data from one storage account to other storage account, or one storage layer to another storage layer, for you to be able to combine them and create the report for your data, or kind of work with that data. You can simply go ahead, create a shortcut, and at the runtime, when you're executing the query, the data gets queried from the source, directly from the source. So that's a shortcut feature. With that, let me kind of quickly show you one demo of how shortcut works.
In this demo, I'm a data engineer preparing data for my marketing team. I've already brought some data into the Lakehouse, and as next step, I want to merge it with sales data for lead generation reporting. The sales team has already prepared the centrally managed certified data, and I want to reuse it. To do this, I'm going to add a new shortcut, which allows me to use one copy of data across teams. I can choose from a variety of sources, including data already in Fabric. I'm going to select OneLake as the source, and I can browse the OneLake Data Hub and find the MS Sales Lakehouse. I can easily select the table I need, and in just a few seconds, my table appears as a first-class citizen in my Lakehouse. No data has been duplicated, and I will always have the most up-to-date data available. But there's more. We know that many enterprises have existing data lakes. Well, with shortcuts, users can leverage one copy across clouds with no data movement. I can light up data not only from ADLS Gen 2, but even S3 from AWS. Now for my solution, I would like to merge customer logos alongside revenue and marketing data, and I happen to have stored all of these logos in an S3 bucket. All I have to do is select S3 as the source, specify its location, and populate all of my account information. On the next screen, I can give my shortcut a name, add the relative path, and that's it. Within seconds, I can see a shortcut created in the Files section which is the messy, unstructured data lake portion of the lakehouse. We can navigate through all the different folders and even explore the files, despite the fact that data never physically left S3. Before I get started with my analysis, I realize I'm missing a line of finance company logos, which I have on my desktop. In Fabric, we strive to make OneLake the OneDrive for your data. Let's take a look. Here I've opened up my local Windows File Explorer and can see that alongside my OneDrive folder, I also have a OneLake folder synced. Navigating through it, I can open up my workspace, my lakehouse I was just working in, and I can navigate to the tables and files folders. If I jump into the files section, I can easily navigate through the folder structure, open up the retail folder sitting in Amazon S3 directly in my File Explorer. I can even open up the same image locally that I was looking at in the lakehouse, despite the fact that it is still sitting in my Amazon storage account. I'm going to jump back into Files to add my finance company logos. I have the logo images saved on my desktop, so I'm just going to drag the folder inside, and I can automatically see the finance folder show up. My data is now going to get synced back into the lakehouse. Let's navigate back and take a look. I'm going to refresh the lakehouse, and I can see the new finance folder show up. Navigating through it, I can easily explore the images inside, just like I did on my desktop. Now that I have all my data in the lakehouse, I can transform it all in the same uniform way without worrying whether the data was ingested, whether it came from another lakehouse, or if it came from S3.
All right. So while OneLake experience or the lakehouse experience has been designed to build lakehouses with medallion architecture, there are times when you need to build hub and spoke model for your data platform. And that feature again has been built into the platform itself so that you can organize your data and different artifacts and items related to that data in a different domain. So this feature is natively supported in Fabric. If you want to kind of build a data mesh architecture for your data analytics solution, that's again built into the platform itself. And this is one quick GIF that shows how it works. I'll not take much of the time, but yeah, this is just to let you know that this is currently available and make use of it. Now, the third pillar is about empowering every business user, where like you have plugin in Teams, you have built-in native integration with Microsoft Office 365 to kind of do the reporting on top of that. So this is one example. Again, it's better to kind of go through the demo than kind of explaining it on the slide. So let's quickly.
With vNext, we deliver data and insights one click away, everywhere decisions are made and work gets done. This starts in Microsoft Teams, where the Power BI app makes it easy to discover and collaborate with data. First, I can easily find and open all the reports I have access to right here in Teams. I have all the same powerful and easy to use slice and dice interactivity of Power BI without ever needing to leave Teams. And since Teams is all about collaboration, I can easily embed reports right inside of the channels where my team already works. For example, with this report added to the channel where our sales team collaborates, let me ask Amir a quick question about the data in the report. Immediately he can respond so we can get work done without ever needing to switch context. We can even embed interactive reports inside of meetings so that you can ensure data is on the agenda and easy to discover for everyone every time we meet. Next, in the Teams Data Hub, I can quickly find all of the Analytics vNext data I have been granted access to. Data is recommended for me, and for each data warehouse and lakehouse, I can see additional information such as endorsements, certification, and sensitivity labels. If I open a specific data set, I can find out more information about the data and quickly get started building my own analysis connected directly to the data. Best of all, with one click, I can get Excel connected directly to the data for self-service. And now in just a few clicks, I can analyze my data with pivot tables directly on top of the OneLake data. Notice also the same sensitivity label applied to the vNext data warehouse is automatically inherited by the Excel workbook. This enables organizations to give users more access to data in a trusted and secure way. Finally, discovering and connecting to any additional vNext data in Excel is a snap, because I have the same data hub built directly into Excel where I can see the same rich information about my data and get started with new analysis. Next, let's take a look at how we have made interactive reporting fully integrated into PowerPoint. With just a few clicks, I can add any of my reports directly into a PowerPoint presentation. Best of all, this works seamlessly with PowerPoint features like shapes and animations and is fully interactive in presentation mode. This is a great way to not only create interactive data storytelling as part of a presentation, but it saves a ton of time replacing the need to copy and paste charts and manually update weekly or monthly business review decks. These are just a few of the examples of how vNext makes data and insights one click away everywhere decisions are made, and we're incredibly excited to keep empowering everyone with data.
All right. Now, the fourth pillar is about Copilot integration. And the idea here is how we can empower you to do more. How can you do more with less time that you have or less resources that you have? This is where Copilot integration comes in. We have a vision document that vision video that I can show it to you. This functionality is currently not for you, currently not available for you to test it now, but like it's coming soon. So let me roll this video.
Next generation AI in Microsoft Fabric empowers you to unlock the full potential of your data. With Copilot integrated into every data experience, Microsoft Fabric lets you use natural language to bring your data to life. From integrating data to writing code to finding insights and creating reports, new transformative AI experiences work alongside you every step of the way so you can stay focused on getting value from your data. Copilot helps turn your words into data flows and data pipelines so you can intelligently integrate data from anywhere. When writing code, Copilot automatically suggests code and entire functions in real time, and Copilot can guide you to create machine learning models to unlock insights in your data. Just by chatting with Copilot, you can visually explore your data to create stunning reports, discover insights, and summarize your data into easy-to-understand text narratives for sharing. With Copilot, you can turn insight into action with triggers that monitor your data and notify users. You can even create your own custom natural language experiences that combine Azure OpenAI models and your organization's data and easily publish your creations as plugins. And with your data in Fabric, Copilot provides insights and answers everywhere work gets done. Most importantly, Microsoft Cloud runs on trust, which means your data always remains your data. Bring your data into the era of AI with Microsoft Fabric.
All right, so I have this another quick video to kind of show you how the experience is going to look like. Let me kind of play this video and then we can open up for question.
In this demo, we will take a look at how Synapse vNext unlocks developer productivity through its integration of OpenAI large language models. As a data scientist, I'm going to start from a blank notebook. Instead of writing code, in this case, I'm going to pop open the built-in AI assistant that provides a chat-like interface for any questions I have. In my scenario, I want to build a churn model, and so I'll type that into the chat box. Instead of getting a code suggestion, the AI responds back in natural language, outlining clear steps for building a predictive churn model. For any question I ask, I can also expand the scope, which is automatically generated by the platform. In this example, since my notebook language is set to PySpark, the platform lets the AI know it should generate the code in Python. Furthermore, since I have a lakehouse attached, the scope is automatically set to the lakehouse tables, without me having to specify this. If I want to make any tweaks, I can simply edit the natural language. In my case, I will remove the clickstream table and the store table, which I know will not be relevant for my model. This helps the AI focus on the scope I care about. I can save my changes, which automatically reruns the question with the updated context. I will now take the AI suggestion and start exploring my data for the ML model. I can see the AI continues to respond to me in natural language, enabling me to have a dialogue. I can see it proposed for me to explore my customer table, and as I hover over the option to add this to my notebook, I get instant feedback and see the code that would get generated. Hitting the Add button adds the code to my notebook cell and runs it for me. I can now see a data frame display of my customer table. I can keep going through the process and see that the AI has suggested another exploration step, this time to break down the churn field by customer. Hovering over it shows me the proposed code, and running it as a column chart with the churn breakdown. If at any point I don't want to take the suggestion, I can simply choose not to add the exploration to my notebook, or I can even ask a follow-up question. At any point, I can also minimize the AI Assistant tab, but I can always come back to it whenever I need to. The Synapse VNext experience also provides me with contextual actions without me having to type out my intention. For example, right-clicking on some of the files in my lakehouse, I can see some AI options, such as the ability to explore my data or generate new features. Hovering over the Generate Features option, I can see the code suggestion, which leverages cognitive services and Synapse ML to transform my audio logs into text and then extract out the sentiment for each row. Hitting Enter generates the code for me, and I can see the transcripts and their associated sentiment scores. Now that I have explored my data and built some features, it is time to train my model. In this case, I can have the AI also help me with code I have authored myself. Opening up the contextual menu in my cell, I can see that there are various built-in actions I can take, such as documenting my code or fixing a bug. As I hover over the Optimize option, I can see that the AI suggests I rewrite my code to leverage the Synapse ML library, which uses Spark to distribute the model training. Just like before, I can hit Enter to accept the suggestion and see the code rewritten in the cell. In summary, the Synapse VNext platform provides me with many AI-assisted capabilities that increase my productivity as a developer.
All right, so some of the capabilities that Copilot integration provides is basically allows you to kind of generate code documentation for your code that you have written, allows you to kind of write code for you based on the context that you have for your data, right? So when it generates the code, it generates the code for your data, right? And so like you can define the context. So that's the second thing. The third one is you can create plugin on your own data so that you can query that data and get answered by Copilot, right? So that AI plugin can be created on your own data so that like you can have interactive discussion with Copilot. So there is one last video that I would like to show and then open up. This is for Power BI. So how Copilot integration in Power BI is going to look like. This is what this video is about.
Let's take a look at how Copilot in Power BI is empowering everyone to quickly find and share insights. For example, say I'm a sales analyst for a hotel and resorts company. Now, with Copilot in Power BI, I can simply describe the report I want to build and get insights in seconds. Maybe we need a new report to help us understand the profile of our customers, to gain insights into what is driving return visits to our properties. I just describe what I need, and Copilot will automatically analyze my data and create a new report based on my needs. Immediately, Copilot created a new Power BI report that is fully interactive, and I can start slicing and dicing my data to explore deeper. Copilot added the charts and slicers I requested, but also conveniently gives me options to adjust the output to get just what I'm looking for. For example, let's switch to ask for metrics and trends and a slightly different layout. Automatically, Copilot updates the report. Let's go ahead and keep this report page, but it goes much further. I can also ask analysis questions such as, what are the main drivers for repeat customer visits? Copilot responds by adding a new page to my report and uses Power BI's built-in advanced analysis capabilities for finding key influencers for variables in my data. Right away, I can see that customers who purchase spa visits are the most likely to be repeat visitors, followed by those who rented sports equipment. I can easily explore Power BI's key influencer visual further to learn more. I can even automatically see the most significant segments in my data just by clicking. Now let's go back to the first page and finish up our new report. I'm going to ask Copilot to make it look like our existing sales dashboard. Copilot automatically finds and references the dashboard to adjust my report with formatting and layout to match. Best of all, I can still interact directly with the Power BI report Copilot has created. So for example, if I wanted to manually change this line chart to add the reason customers were visiting, it's easy to do with just a few clicks. Let's also change the line chart to a ribbon chart to make the data really stand out. Finally, to make the report even easier for my team to understand, I'm going to ask Copilot to add a rich text description of my data right inside the report. This narrative summary is fully dynamic, and not only does Copilot highlight interesting insights from my data, but it provides citations from where in the report the data was taken. This summary will update every time the data is refreshed, or people filter the report with new insights based on the data. And just like that, in seconds, I've created a report that would have taken hours or days to do manually. Copilot, built on top of Azure OpenAI, is truly revolutionary for how we empower everyone to find and share insights.
All right, so just to wrap up, let me kind of skip
In this demo,
I think we can go back to wrap this up, right? So Microsoft Fabric is a complete data platform for building analytics solution in this era of AI. It has two different components. The one leg is basically the data virtualization layer sitting on all your data across enterprises, whether it's coming from lake houses in Fabric or data lake storage account or Amazon S3. It's all single source for your data throughout your organization. And then it sits on the different computing engine, or basically based of breed computing engine that provides the performance that you expect. At the same time, it's based on serverless architecture. So you pay for only the uses that you are going to use that compute engines for. The best part is they are all natively integrated, so you don't have to worry about integrating those different pieces together. And as I gave an example earlier, if you use one engine to create a table, the table is going to be visible across all the engines, and you can query the table from the other engines. And the example was about creating a pipeline to create a table. While landing the data from the source, the table is going to be accessible in a Spark or data warehouse with SQL, or even in Power BI to do reporting on top of that. As of now, we have Microsoft Fabric in public preview. All these core capabilities related to data fabric, data engineering, data science, data warehousing, these are all available in public preview for you to get started. To get started, you can go and try out the first link that I have listed down here. I'm going to paste this in the chat window. So go to aka.ms/try-fabric. This is where you can get started with trial edition, and that will allows you to kind of work with Fabric for next couple of months or until GA time. We have official documentation about Fabric, fabric.docs, which talks about in general what a Fabric feature is, but we have another documentation which talks about end-to-end scenario. That's a third link, right? So basically the idea here is when we talk about building analytics solution, whether we are talking about lakehouse or warehouse or real-time analytics or data science solution, we have created this scenario-based end-to-end tutorial where you can complete this tutorial in 30 minutes to 1 hour time, right? You can build this whole end-to-end POC or solution from start to end in like roughly 30 minutes to 60 minutes time. So this whole end-to-end tutorial will guide you through whole of the experience of Microsoft Fabric. The last link is about submitting any ideas. So we are very open for learning from what you need. So Microsoft Fabric ideas is the link where you can go and submit any idea that you think is not available currently, or any feature request that you have. You can go and search for people kind of asking for those features. You can vote for those features, or you can submit a new feature request if you don't find it there. So with that, thank you so much for joining this meeting. I know it's a Sunday evening in India and morning time in US. Again, thank you so much for joining at this time. With that, we can open up for question if anyone has any question.
Yeah, so one question is from myself. Hi, also this is Anjani. If you can hear me. Yeah. So the way you example there at it's the Power BI was directly getting empowered from Parquet 5. Right? So if I have a delta table somewhere, right? Maybe in the Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, I have generated it through Databricks or anything. Can that be directly used in the Power BI through one data lake?
Yes. Yes, it can be. So the idea here is not to let you kind of copy data from one storage account to a storage account. So for example, you are currently using Databricks and you have your Delta Lake created into ADLS Gen 2 account. So you come to Fabric, create a shortcut to your storage account, and once the shortcut is created, the table will be visible in Power BI to create report on top of that. So yes, you don't need to kind of copy the data. The data is going to be accessible from the Power BI.
There are a couple of other issues. Many of our organizations, what they have done is they have Synapse data in Synapse. They process data in Synapse, and then they have SQL Server analysis services. Few of our organizations who are who have been suggested by multiple enterprise team across the globe to do like that. So the purpose was that because the data is so much that they cannot import all the data to their Power BI and they can run all the report seamlessly. So they do first they create their model SSAS, the SSAS online, and then they expose it to Power BI. That has a lot of issues also, because when the model get created, if they have to explain that model, they have different challenges, right? The UI also get changes. So if we have to do everything through a delta table, like set up delta table where we define our fact and dimension, is that possible now easily? The creating relationship, because Power BI, when it's a real-time data, it always gives problem in creating extra columns, or maybe what do you say, measures, or even the relationship. And then another problem is, like, if you bring the data into Power BI, and let's say you want to use it into Power Platform, let's say Power App is you are integrating Power BI with the Power App. There are a couple of challenges that come. So are those challenges being catered now, and will that be handled with this platform?
Yes. So that has been a pain for a very long time. We have been hearing that complaint for a very long time, and the idea here is to take care of those challenges natively in the platform itself. So you are right. You don't have to replicate the data into different storage account. You don't have to copy data from one place to other place to make it kind of work. Data can still be on the lakehouse in open lake format, or basically delta lake format, but at the same time you can create a semantic model in the UI. If you remember from the demo, there was a kind of diagram view of the different tables. You can kind of set up the relationship, you can create measures, you can create DAX expression and all those things. So having said that, it's not going to replicate your data. It's just a kind of creating a semantic model on the data which is sitting into Lakehouse. And it's just one copy of the data. So we are no longer requiring you to kind of maintain multiple copy of the data. It's just one copy of the data. And one of the kind of feature or kind of capabilities that Microsoft has for a very long time is what natively being built into the platform itself. So it's called, so when you use any engine in Fabric to write a delta table, the file gets, or one of the feature that we are using, it is called vertiparquet, or basically the reordering of the file. So basically we arrange it or sort the data in a way that it's more compressed, or the size of the compressed file is much smaller than what you see with the regular Parquet file. But at the same time, we are keeping it open so that, like, once the file gets created or delta table gets created. So basically, if you have a data set, you're using any of the engine in Fabric, the delta file gets created or the Parquet file gets created. The size of the Parquet file is going to be much smaller because of the native feature that we are using in Fabric. But at the same time, we have kept it open. So you can take that file or delta table and use it in some other platform that supports delta table. So for example, Databricks or any other platform that supports delta table can be used there. So idea here is to create one copy of the data, use it across a different engine or wherever you want to use without copying it, and you can build semantic model on the same set of data, create measures, create DAX expression and everything. So you no longer need to kind of bring in Azure analysis services in this case.
Okay, so another question which many of our client faces is, let's say they have a tenant built out in Japan and they are working in US, right? And now they're most of the analysts are sitting in US. Tenant is built in Japan, when they create their, Power BI instance and everything that gets, built in, gets set up into Japan, and then the SQL also. If they have to, because with the Fabric, I've seen that you can use the compute directly, and the same compute you can be utilized everywhere. It's like a something like a virtual machine which we get as a user, and then we can use it in the in different location, geolocation, and then it becomes fast rather than the
Yeah.
querying, which actually become a real problem, because even if you use a Power BI enterprise, it gets set up into Japan, and now when the user are trying to fetch the data from Japan to US, they have the same problem, or to India they have the same problem, and then they start complaining around that.
Yeah.
And second thing along with that, like we created Delta table, and it was Azure Synapse serverless, and then now we had to do Parquet and all the things to help them to make them query and write a store procedure. So those kind of difficulty are going to be resolved with this the Fabric introduction.
Yeah, so there are two things that you're asking for here. And the very first one is how we can have a support for an organization which is kind of which has presence in multiple region and multiple
And
areas.
just hold on. The people waiting for the next session, will just request you to wait for another 4 or 5 minutes. We'll wrap the session quickly. I have another question, one more, and then if anyone else have any question, they can type in. We'll take that question, and then we'll share the certificate link. Yeah, sir, please continue.
So yes, this is built into the platform itself. So as I was saying, one lake is the one copy representation of your whole organization data, but at the same time, based on different regions the company operates in, they can have compute resources created into that region and have attached to the same storage account, or basically the same one lake kind of a storage. With that, each of the organization are kind of paying for the resources that they are using in their own region, but at the same time, they have access to the data which is kind of in one lake, right? So that's how you can have chargeback, you can have support for for a company which is kind of spread across different region in the world, right? So that's about first thing. The second thing was about like different engines supporting different types of format, right? And that is what we are trying to simplify it here, right? So you no longer need to convert from one format to other format. Once you create a table, the same table is going to be accessible to any of the engines that you are using in Fabric. You no longer need to kind of, just because you want to use it in serverless SQL, you have to kind of change it into a different format. No, when you create a lakehouse, a SQL endpoint gets created by default, as you saw in the demo, right? And you can connect to that SQL endpoint using any of the tool that you have, whether it's a SQL Server Management Studio or Azure Data Studio, and you can run your T-SQL query directly on those data without even doing anything on top of that, right? So you no longer have to different experience the way we have in Synapse. So we have the Spark, and then we have serverless. You kind of wait for some time for table to get synced from Spark to serverless. All those things are taken care here. So it's all single experience that you'll have. So you create a table, and the table is going to be available for you to query it with SQL endpoint. So that's how it's going to work.
Sure. So another question from Arvax is, can you tell us, just hold on. Can you tell us more about reporting with Fabric using data activator and specific security data governance control in Fabric implementable using integration with Purview and Proficy? So
Okay.
repeat the question.
Yeah, there are multiple questions here. Data activator, I heard about data activator. Data activator is another engine in Fabric for observational analytics, right? So if you have a stream of data coming in and you want to set up some trigger on the data, right? So for example, some telemetry information is coming from like I'll give you an example of one customer, right? So they have a store across US. They have a refrigerator in each of those stores, and these refrigerators are sending kind of events when what is the temperature at particular time, right? So if you want to have some trigger defined for this refrigerator, that like if it goes beyond this certain threshold, there should be a trigger immediately kind of send a notification, right? So those kind of things are possible with data activator. That's number one. Number two is integration with Purview. Yes, there are some pieces already integrated, and more features related to security and governance will be coming in next couple of weeks to months time. So for now, like I think data governance is already built into it. Data compliance is something is coming up in some time. So yes, you'll see more and more integration with Purview coming in coming months.
Yeah, thank you, Asad. Any other question? If anyone trying to type in. So before we wrap up, Gavaskar, if you can share your screen and so how people can take the certificate, and also you have already pasted the secret code for the certificate here, but how people can take the certificate? They can give the demo and then how they can download it, and how they will get the recording. Recording will be available within 2 to 3 days, and any content that Asad share with us will be available on the same link that we have pasted here. If you have any issue, you can join our community through fifthlayer.com/community.aspx. There you can connect to our Telegram channel for further help.
So participants, you can already the link and the secret code is shared in the chat. Just you can go to that link. You can click that link so that you will be taken to the landing page. So you can register as a guest. In my case, I already registered. So now you can navigate. Yeah. Now this is a private dashboard. You can find the different options over here. Claim certificate.
There only the video will show up once the recording is available. Yeah. Claim certificate, right?
Yeah, claim certificate, and you'll be taken to the page where you can provide the name, your mobile number, and your mail ID, to which you have to get the link to download the certificate. Now you can provide this. Now you can provide the secret code, which already is provided in the chat.
Yeah, can you copy and paste again to the chat, Gavaskar?
Yes.
That's the secret code. Yeah, so the secret code, secret code is pasted, and also send all the links there that will anyway put into the description. And once you put in your code, your certificates will be emailed you, and also you can go back on the same page to download your certificate within 4 or 5 minutes. Hope this helps. Still, if you have any issue, you can anytime connect us.
Yeah.
So in 2-3 minutes, you will get the certificate from the same link. Thank you everyone for joining. This is a course also. Just wanted to apprise you with that. So this is a course also. We have sent you the course link, and this will be obviously Fabric is too big to be completed within a single session. So there will be multiple sessions, and through a course link which we are sharing again, you can register to that course, and as soon as we keep on adding new session through Arshad here, you will be notified if you have registered here. Thank you once again, Arshad, for giving this wonderful session.
Thank you.
So
Thank
much.
you for having me here.
I couldn't get a chance to. Hi, Arshad. This is Dheeraj Singh here. I couldn't get a chance to ask you few of even I had. It's already past time. What we way I can drop an email or something to you?
Yeah, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
That'll be interesting. I mean, that'll be really great. Thank you so much, Arshad, for your time.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks.